Hello and welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer as we continue our study of the structure of man, a presentation prepared by Father John Emmanuel, a Carmelite friar in France. And he talks about the challenges that we face in silent or interior prayer, and he also goes into what happens to us in prayer. It's important to understand that we tend to live at the surface of ourselves today, but we are multi-dimensional beings, and through prayer we tend to discover these different levels of ourselves. So John of the Cross talks about us having two dimensions, a body or a sensory self and a spirit, the soul and the spirit, or our spiritual self. So our sensory self has 5 external senses, our sight, touch, hearing, smell, and taste. And then we saw also that our internal senses, there are 2 of them, the imagination, which is the cinema that's open 24/7, and then the appetites, or our needs and desires, are also internal senses. Both of them. So in all we have 7 senses, 5 external and 2 internal. So right now we are going to continue looking at our spiritual self. We saw the last time we spoke that our spiritual selves, or our souls, contain 3 faculties, as Teresa calls them: our will, our intelligence, and our memory. So now we're going to take a look at what happens to the soul at baptism. And let me invite you to look at the link below, which will take you to the website where there are handouts on baptism, the nature of man, and the theological virtues. Don't be scared by these big words. It's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff, really. So at baptism, we receive these theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. So now God is transcendent. In other words, he has another nature, a different nature from us. But at the same time, he is very near to us, and he maintains us in existence. Without God, we would simply cease to exist. God is the center of our soul, according to St. John of the Cross. And we believe, or come to learn to believe, that the exercise of interior or silent or Carmelite prayer leads us to discover God at our center. While you could ask, well, why can't we just find him there right now? Well, the problem is that we have many layers of attachment to the world that we are very comfortable with. And during the practice of prayer, Christ acts within us. It's important to let him act. And it's really the gift that we give God, the gift of our time, so that he can act within us and transform us. Little by little, we discover him, and God becomes the master of our being, the motor of our being. He gives us life, and he also allows us to participate in his life. How? Well, through baptism. He wants us to become sons of God. In other words, his sons. So he gives us a theological life. In other words, a life that comes from him, that comes from God, and that allows us to unite with him. He gives us at baptism 3 gifts, 3 virtues. They're called the theological virtues: faith, hope, and charity. These are supernatural virtues. They're actually God Himself, and they are grafted into the soul or grafted onto the intelligence, the will, and the memory, the faculties of the soul we just spoke of. And this happens at baptism. Gradually, over time, these supernatural virtues purify our souls or make us over in the image of Christ. Amen. So this will be continued. We're going to take a look at faith, hope, and charity. Then we're going to look at the transformation and finally the fruits. So I hope you'll come back and keep the faith. Take care. Bye-bye.